What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beers and. Today, we're going to be talking about
Beers and Good Morning Vietnam. Oh,
that was very nice.
That was in sync.
That was very in sync.
If I didn't edit to this point, people would see us practicing.
You're right. Maybe we shouldn't edit anymore.
Trust me.
All live, all raw footage, all the time. All the time. That's what you get here at Welcome to Beers and.
That was a lovely transition.
Nick is here with me again. I'm so excited. We're talking about Vietnam today, and we're drinking a Vietnam-inspired beer.
We are, in fact.
It is called VIet Nom Nom Nom. Let's just reveal it.
Which is great.
So this is actually a collab between Brix City, hello guys, we love you, and Upper Pass Brewing, which we haven't had from
Upper Pass
on the show. Yeah, Upper Pass Beer Company. And it's also technically a collab with First Batch Coffee Company.
Oh, this is a triple.
I'm sorry, First Branch.
This is a triple collab.
Yes. They didn't brew the beer, but they lent the Vietnamese coffee that the beer is steeped.
Oh, I didn't know that was where the VIet Nom 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 came from at all.
So this is an Imperial Stout, I believe. Is it Imperial? Because that would mean, Imperial Milk Porter.
Oh.
Brewed with lactose and conditioned on dark roast Vietnamese coffee from First Branch.
I'm excited. Have you ever had Vietnamese coffee?
No, not that I can recall.
Vietnamese coffee, and I drink espresso like it's going out of style. Vietnamese coffee has hit me in such a way that will make me sweat.
Oh, really?
Oh, it is potent.
I've had that happen to me too. I wonder if it was Vietnamese. I was sitting at the Turning Point.
Yeah.
In Homedale, and had a
hashtag not a sponsor.
Hashtag not a sponsor. Had a French press of some like super fancy coffee come to me at the table. Chugged it down, and like 15 minutes later broke out into like a profuse sweat.
Really?
And Christina was looking at me like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know. I need to go to the car, I think."
I got to go take a walk.
Yeah.
Vietnamese coffee will do for me, and the only other one that has done for me is like Turkish coffee.
Interesting. Does that have to do with the quality or I
think it's got to do with the concentration. Yeah, more than anything else. Yeah. That's some rough stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Vietnam episode. Come watch us on YouTube at Beers and Podcast, and you can follow us on Instagram at the same. And you can also come over to Twitter at BeersAnd1, or just hit us up on Gmail at beersandpodcast@gmail.com.
You've got this down to a science.
Yeah.
I am very impressed.
With practice.
I am very impressed.
You ready for your question?
I am. I do want to just preface with one thing real quick before we get into the question and the beer and all the great stuff. Alex and I made a conscious decision. We are not necessarily covering or talking about the Vietnam War.
True.
Reason being, it's an episode all in and of itself.
Also true.
And we try to keep things light around here, and I feel like there's no way to have a light talk about Vietnam, Vietnam War.
We're going to be war adjacent today.
Yes, we are war adjacent.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
okay.
Not on the war.
Not on the war.
Question. This is a bit of a specific one, but if you could bring one person back to life from the Forever 27 Club, who would it be? So I believe those members are Jimi Hendrix.
It's Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin,
the guy
Amy Winehouse,
and the
Kurt
guy
Cobain.
Doors? No.
Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison.
Yep.
And I believe that Mama Cass is as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. But that makes sense.
Oh, it would have to be.
That's a tough one.
I'll double check on Mama Cass. And the reason I would say Mama Cass is just because of the fact is that I feel like not only could we have a good time, but we could also eat very well and have a good time there. She died at 30?
So she's 59 to 74.
59
to
70.
Not even.
59. 60.
Oh, wait, no, that's years active. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Born 41, died 74, so close, 33.
Oh, okay. So she's not part of it. Then Amy Winehouse.
Okay. Respectable decision.
Love.
Not who I thought you would say, though.
No.
I thought you were going to go Jim Morrison for sure.
No, Jim Morrison was kind of a scumbag. Yeah, Jim Morrison was actually kind of a dirtbag.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. He was a real... he would have been the poster child for like the Me Too movement.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude.
Okay.
Yeah. If just I guess a plug for another podcast, I guess why not? But if you ever get the chance to listen to the Jim Morrison episode from Disgraceland, does a really good job of giving some of his backstory, and he was just a dirtbag.
That's crazy.
Amy,
Solid pick.
oh God. I told you my favorite story when I was working for the radio station. We had been giving away tickets to the, I guess it wasn't a premiere, but it was at least a showing of the documentary, Amy over at Count Basie. This is years and years and years ago. And Meg and I had gone. And we're in the theater, we watch the movie, and we're surrounded by folks who I'm going to go out on a limb might be familiar with her music, but maybe weren't like huge fans necessarily. And at the very end of the movie, during the credits rolling, it's when they play Valerie. And
Great song.
people are now actively, the lights are now coming on. People are now actively leaving the theater. And Meg and I are sitting in the back weeping. Just go, how everything so bad that happened to her? Why are you all leaving? What's the matter with you?
Really sad story.
Oh, she's a oh yeah, such a sad, manipulated,
Right? And very talented. Exactly.
woman.
Very talented woman.
Who would you bring back from that group?
I feel like
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
He's an interesting
That's a
character
no-brainer.
too.
I really did like a deep dive on him once. I read an autobiography. I read no, it was a biography.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just fantastic. Like he's very noted for how he played an upside down guitar.
Right.
So just a quick story. It came about because back in those days, it was looked down upon to be a left-hander.
Oh yeah.
Synonymous with the devil, Satan worship, whatever. So he would have to learn righty when his parents were in the room. And when they would leave, he would flip it over the other way.
That's
and learn to play the other way. So he was actually ambidextrous with that. But that's how he got his signature upside down, backwards headstock.
Oh, I didn't know that was the reason
That's
why.
the story behind it, because it's like kind of an homage to his childhood. I had to learn how to play as a left-hander in secrecy.
Oh, I knew that he had to learn how to play the other way.
Yeah, crazy.
It's wild that we only stopped forcing children to write with their right hand, realistically, only like 50 years ago.
Not that long ago.
No. Oh, man.
I know, it's insane.
Man alive.
This smells
Oh, I didn't even...
absolutely ridiculous. There are cacao nibs in here.
Ooh, and it comes through.
And there's a bit of
very
vanilla.
Clear.
Yeah, there's a huge chocolate nose.
I feel like we don't usually get such clear
Chocolate?
aroma,
Yeah.
from them, or such distinct notes coming through so clearly on their own. And you're right, because the second that you said then vanilla after the fact,
You got it, too.
Really, really nice, and it's vanilla bean too. It's
I
think.
believe so. It is actually just says vanilla. So probably.
Well, listen, I guess we won't know until we try it.
Cheers.
Cheers, sir.
That's tasty.
Woo.
That is tasty. Coffee. Actually, you know what? All at once. Coffee, chocolate, vanilla. And then kind of just like a lingering roastiness.
Yeah, and it's not overwhelming too, because sometimes I find that coffee porters tend to be too bitter with their coffee flavor, and leaves kind of like that, again, almost like a tacky sort of residue. This is phenomenal.
Can you see the ABV right there?
Am I reading that incorrectly?
No.
Does that say 19?
No, it says 10.5.
Okay.
You are reading that incorrectly.
Thank God. I'm going to bring it closer.
Our eyes.
Okay, good. It's still 10 and a half.
10.5. Wow.
Wowzers. This is the second one, though, we've had recently with such a high ABV that
it didn't taste like
I don't think it has that high of an ABV by any means. Very, very nice. Very nice.
You could tell me that this was like a 5% beer, and I would not even question it.
No, not particularly. I mean, it's got just the right amount of thickness for it to be distinguished as a porter.
I believe there's lactose in there.
I think, I believe so. Yes, with lactose.
Wow.
I'm impressed.
Super, super clean for being like a very robust beer in flavor. But like that's what we say about Brix City all the time.
They are they remind me, and maybe it's a Jersey thing. They brew some of these more complex flavors like Icarus does, to where there's a lot of attention to detail, the layering.
Definitely.
Because you're right. You're getting all of these flavors. You're getting the vanilla. You're getting the cocoa. You're getting the coffee.
Definitely.
And they're not overpowering one another. It's really like a very well blended coffee.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
I am impressed.
I'm really impressed. I'm going to be very high on this one, although I'm not going to give my rating just yet.
Why not?
I want to drink a little more.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine by me.
I want to keep talking about the beer. Wow, I'm like really impressed. The coffee's not overpowering. And I feel like usually it is, even with other additives.
So if I'm not mistaken, Vietnamese coffee is often served cold to begin with, much like a cold brew. We can double check on that. But that is, I believe, the way that it is usually served. And I've always found that cold brews are usually not as bitter. They're not as almost, I don't want to say off-putting, but they're not as strong necessarily.
It takes a lot of the acid out of
yes.
the
Yes. And I think that's what we're getting here. So
very
spot on.
Smooth. Brix City. Every time you guys crush it. Not a sponsor. Please sponsor us. I'm going to stop groveling.
No, grovel away.
It's really good.
Damn it.
It's really good.
Let me make sure real quick. Oh.
Checking Vietnamese coffee?
Yeah, first I've got to certify for Google that I'm not a robot. Damn it. It is. It's an Vietnamese iced coffee. It's usually a coarse ground dark roast made with a small Vietnamese drip filter. And then after hot water is added, the drip filter releases drops of hot water slowly then into a cup. And it's usually done with condensed milk, ice, water, and dark coffee roast.
Oh, so interesting. With the condensed milk, it's probably super sweet.
Yeah. You know
me, I drink my coffee black.
Oh, so do I. But very nice. We're going to have to go and get some then just to compare the flavor. But I feel like, if I remember correctly, this is, again, spot on. And it's that lactose that's taking the place of the condensed milk.
This beer.
I'm going to go like a 4.35.
I'm way higher than
you. Oh, you're even higher. I'm so sorry.
Way higher.
Yeah?
I'm like 4.72.
Are you really?
I am so high on this beer that you might as well drug test me because I could test positive for narcotics.
Do me a favor. Just spit. Bet you weren't expecting that one.
Nope.
Alrighty.
So, 4.72. This is probably the best dark beer I've had in memory.
Damn.
That's been this high, not a hint of the alcohol. Very clear coffee and chocolate and vanilla flavors. Nothing is competing with the other to kind of, be the front and center. I think this beer is blended very nicely, like you said. And,
it's a perfect example of embracing KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. And
we were about to talk about Gene Simmons.
No. That'll be another episode. I'm pretty sure we've already said that we were going to do a KISS episode also, and still haven't necessarily.
That makes sense.
But this is again really, really, really well done.
Super smooth, super clean, full of flavor. I mean, have two and you'll be on your way.
I like the pause because of the fact that we got to take a sip halfway through.
I mean, it's just so. I wish I had like 3 more of these.
I was gonna say I'd like them. I like it. Shall
good.
we kick things off?
Please kick us off.
So you just said if you have 2, you'd be on your way. And I think that if you were to have 2, you probably wouldn't want to drive, but instead you might want to go ahead and take the train. Train's gonna be safer for you here.
Definitely. I love getting drunk on the train.
So do I. So are you familiar with Hanoi's Train Street?
I am not.
So between 3 and 7 p.m., there is a train that goes through the really narrow streets of Hanoi's Old Quarter. Okay? So during this time, around, again, 3 and 7 p.m., clothes that are like drying on the line have to be brought in. Children have to be brought inside to be kept safe because of the fact that there's only a couple of feet of clearance on either side of the train.
My goodness.
And in certain cases, there are only a few inches between the train and buildings.
Wow.
That are going through.
Very small latitude for error.
Very, very small. So this was a train line that was built by the French in 1902 during the period of French imperialism, connecting to what is now Hanoi, which is the capital of Vietnam, to Ho Chi Minh City. And this area, this street, was not necessarily like a place you would want to go in the past. It was kind of, it was dark. It was obviously a little like dangerous, particularly because of the train coming through, but it wasn't like a big deal. So it had gained popularity, though, as a tourist attraction at around 2017 when Thao Quach, and folks, there are going to be a couple names.
Yep.
And when I say a couple,
on both sides,
pretty much all the names. Between when I saw you last and now, you didn't learn Vietnamese, correct?
I tried my best.
Okay. So
I tried real hard.
So Alex and I don't speak Vietnamese at all. So we apologize in advance for that. So anywho, this young woman by the name of Thao Quach, or Quach, had opened a cafe then along the tracks called the Railway Hanoi. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily a great place to live for obvious reasons until this addition. And when this cafe was open, then it started to gain attraction through Instagram more than anything. As a result, it quickly made its way to the top 10 must-see tourist spots in Hanoi in less than 8 months.
Wow.
And over the course of 2019, over 20,000 images had the hashtag attached to it, like Hanoi Street Train. The stretch of railway was then closed in October of 2019, as local authorities were upset that certain trains actually needed to be rerouted because there were so many tourists on the train tracks that they were like, they didn't know what to do. Now, from what I understand, it does seem that it has reopened to the train. So as a result, the public is in there. But it's really interesting the way that this had all worked, because in such a short period of time, the number of then cafes and businesses that have opened on that street have exploded.
Sure.
Just because of the fact is that they've got so many folks that are coming there now. But it's obviously then displacing, some of those residents. There was a couple of folks that had lived there for 3, 4, 5 generations. A lot of that information, just so we're aware, came from a Lonely Planet article from Fabian Fong Yan. She had lived there for 2 years. She stumbled across it, met this Thao Quach, and had started to track all of the events, worked at the cafe, and tracked its entire story. Wow. No pun intended.
Yeah, it went viral super fast.
Absolutely. Information, just so we're aware, also came from Atlas Obscura as well as Wikipedia.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's how we'll kick things off.
So when I think about Vietnam, now I'll think about coffee. But previously, I always think about guerrilla warfare because it's most synonymous with the terrain and how the Viet Cong fought the Americans during the war. So I have from Wikipedia as well. According to Wikipedia, this is a loose definition, although it's very wordy, for guerrilla warfare, is a form of irregular warfare in which small groups of combatants, such as paramilitary personnel, armed civilians, or irregulars, use military tactics including ambushes, sabotage, raids, petty warfare, hit-and-run tactics, and mobility to fight a larger, less mobile traditional military.
If you guys want to see what guerrilla warfare actually looks like, just turn on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, any of your local affiliates to see everything that's going on in Eastern Eastern Europe right now. And anybody that you see that is clearly not wearing a helmet but has a Kalashnikov strapped to their back, that is guerrilla warfare.
Yeah. So people militia.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. And usually it's to be advantageous of your surroundings. You want to use the land to kind of choke point your enemy and also make your battle more advantageous.
That's how we won the American Revolution.
Indeed it is. So although this style of battle is typically correlated with Vietnam, It's actually been used across the world throughout many factions in history. They're typically associated with revolutionary movements, which makes sense, and also resistance against invading or occupying armies.
Mm-hmm.
Again, makes sense. Guerrilla tactics mostly focus on avoiding large confrontations, which is very smart. Rather, they exhaust enemy forces by winning small battles and forcing a withdrawal.
Oh, okay.
Super brilliant.
Yeah.
There's also a political aspect to this, which I didn't know. So when I talked about irregular warfare, that's like a tactic, apparently, where the war is not meant to be outright won, but instead to win popular support and political influence at the enemy's cost.
Oh, that makes... That actually does make quite a bit... Well, I mean, again, realistically, because it's the easiest example right now, look at the way that folks have essentially rallied around what's going on, at the moment.
It's true.
I mean,
it's absolutely true.
We're seeing folks our age that have never picked up a gun or a rifle before, but all of a sudden it's like, well, what the hell else do we do?
Right. Not only that, but like in this age now, it's much easier to do these things, popular support and political influence, because of social media. So like,
absolutely,
as we've seen, the president of Ukraine all over social media, I don't need, what does he say? I don't need a ride. I need guns. I need manpower.
Right. Yeah, he said that, I think, it was the Italian prime minister.
I thought that was to us, but I could be wrong.
No, it's to Mario Draghi. He had said something like,
yeah.
We'll send you we'll send like a helicopter. He's like,
I don't need a ride. I need help.
Well, that's like, I love those videos, again, not to reinforce this too. I love those videos of quite literally these little villages where you've got little old ladies sitting there with their grandchildren or great-grandchildren, and they're actively making Molotov cocktails because
insane.
It's like, when they come, we'll be ready for them. And it's like, holy shit.
That's one of my all-time favorite weapons, by the way.
The Molotov cocktail?
Yes.
I just like the name.
It's brilliant. To just light alcohol on fire and throw it at people.
With styrofoam.
There's styrofoam in the...
Oh, yeah. Because that's like the burning agent, because it'll melt and kind of stick to you. That's what...
Oh my God, it's like napalm.
Yeah.
Alcoholic napalm.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? I really didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
The styrofoam. So they throw it in the bottle.
Yep.
And then when everything lights up, that comes into like a jelly.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Damn.
There you go.
If only people put all their brain power to good. But I digress. Let's get into the fun stuff. Guerrilla warfare tactics. Speaking of power for good. You know this. I didn't know it was called this, but they're called punji sticks. One of the traps that were laid in Vietnam. That's what they're called. But the most infamous, possibly synonymous trap, I would say, when you think about Vietnam, a pit is dug and filled with either sharpened bamboo or metal sticks.
Oh.
And these holes are then camouflaged with brush and debris and stuff so they blend in until an unfortunate soldier breached and fell through.
Oh, my God.
Sometimes these sharpened sticks would be covered in urine, feces, or plant poison to then incur infection on the people. If they survived the fall, they would still get infected and potentially not survive anyway.
Oh, what a beautiful combination of genius and sick.
That is a layer
at the same time.
Yeah, of evil genius.
Holy
exactly.
Crap.
There's another one. This is probably my favorite one, name-wise. They're called cartridge traps, or also known as toe poppers.
Oh, no.
So listen to this.
Okay.
This would be like a small, sometimes not so small, bullet placed in a hollowed out bamboo tube over the head of a nail. And then the top of this bamboo shoot would be protruding out of the ground.
Yeah.
So when someone steps on it, the impact of the bullet being driven into the head of the nail causes the primer to explode, and people's toes were getting blown off, feet were getting blown off because of these bullets. It's insane, man. It really is insane. And we're going to see my next example how bamboo is used for literally everything in Vietnam.
I feel like we should also preface that our being impressed by these weapons in no way, shape, or form means that we supported the Viet Cong.
No.
Or any of their tactics necessarily, but
definitely not.
Just impressed by the ingenuity.
Yeah, Nick and I are very intellectually focused. So anytime that somebody uses something that's efficient or break the mold, we're into it.
That's exactly what it is.
Might not have a great connotation.
I think they're buying it.
Sure. Yeah. We'll just cut that out. So, like I said, sticking with inventive uses of bamboo, this might be my favorite one. And it's terrible. They were called snake pits. So, typically in tunnels or caves, these traps were set. Trip wires would trigger the release of snakes in bamboo tubes. So these snakes were almost 100% of the time poisonous and were known as 3-step snakes, signifying how far a soldier might make it after being bit by one. 3 steps and that's it.
Oh my God.
So like imagine walking into this cave and like you just like trip a wire and all of a sudden a bamboo shoot comes out of the wall and there's a snake.
And there's a snake inside. Again, you've got to be probably thinking to yourself between steps 1 and 3, like, wow, that's pretty dead.
Yeah. Right?
Wow.
Like, okay, and done.
Wow.
So actually to combat this, the American soldiers were training what they called tunnel rats. Mm-hmm. And they would send these like highly trained rats into the tunnels and caves to disarm these bamboo shoots.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I kind of read up on at one point was that a lot of times soldiers didn't go into these tunnels because they were so dark and so dangerous.
Yeah.
And booby trapped, like you had said, that a lot of times they didn't go down to begin with. But I guess if the booby traps were still set up down there, but then to affect what was going on up above, it would still make sense to send these rats in there.
Yeah, they would train them and send them into these caves.
Wow.
And just my last little snippet on snakes.
God.
Sometimes snakes were even tied at face level, their tail to a branch. So when people would come walking through the forest, they would just get like...
That's like a deleted scene from Home Alone. Like Kevin McAllister set up a whole bunch of,
snakes in the paint cans.
Snakes in the paint cans. Whoa.
Yeah, Guerrilla Warfare is brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's...
But effective.
Right, but smart.
But effective.
Terrible, but ingenious.
Hey, listen, depending upon where you start in a war, my guess is that's the side you want to win. So you got to kind of admire at least the idea.
Definitely.
Especially when you look back retroactively and see, like, the kind of forces that they fought off. And again, like I said, we're not going to get into the war too much. But they were able to expel the French and then managed to go ahead and expel American forces.
Very effective.
I mean, and you're talking about 2 humongous, powerful
armies, much larger
armies.
than that of the Vietnamese.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, well, you got to use what you're given.
Man alive.
Yeah, credit's given where credit is due.
Impressive.
Yeah,
impressive.
Pretty cool.
So I guess what I'll do is I'll stick a little bit then with what you've kind of thrown out there for us, and I looked a little bit, or I stumbled across, I thought was quite an interesting story about one of the individuals that Rambo was allegedly based off of.
We talked about this off air, and I'm so excited to hear about this.
So part of the story...
You guys know who Rambo is,
We all know who Rambo is, right? From First Blood, Sylvester Stallone. He didn't say his own name. Don't know why I made it sound like he had a stroke on top of everything, too. We're just kidding, Sly.
We love you.
We love you, I guess, or whatever.
Good friend of the show. When you start calling him Sly, I just only assumed.
Sly Stone. Sly.
Right.
Anywho, so part of the story of John Rambo, if anybody's not necessarily familiar, he was a former special agent, I believe, like Green Beret, who's sent back to go and find POWs that were still like left behind.
What a sick job.
Well, to be honest with you, and this is like, it kind of came up because I had said to Nick, I was like, I have no idea what to do for this like last, story. And it's not my last one because you're going, Nick, you've only done 2 and not even 2 yet. Just drink your drink, slow down.
Good for you though with the counting.
Right? Look at you. So he had said, he was like, what about something like with Vietnam or Vietnamese like conspiracy theory? And I was like, I don't know what. I was like, we don't want to cover really the war at all. But what I came across essentially was this idea So the term like POW, for one thing, or MIA, is actually relatively new and really came about during Vietnam so as to garner... What happened?
I'm only laughing because when I was a child, I can, like, every time I saw one of those flags, I just called it Pao Mia. I still call it Pao Mia.
The Pao Mia? I
still call it Pao Mia.
Oh, man. I think I told you the story as a side note. You still call it that. My cousin was trying to, like, give directions at one point in time, and she was talking. This is from my uncle. So she was allegedly, like, giving directions about when she was going over, like, I guess the GWB. And she was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then, you keep left onto, like, the Maj de Jean. My uncle was like, what? She was like, left at the Maj de Jean. He goes, do you mean left at the Major Deegan? She was like, what? He goes, it's called the Major Deegan, not the Maj de Jean. He was like, oh, I just call it the Maj de Jean.
I also did that with Staten Island something expressway.
Yeah.
When I was a child, and I called it Staten is Land Expressway.
Staten is Land.
Yeah, Staten is Land.
There you go. Oh.
That makes sense. Staten is Land. Anyway, sorry.
So they started to use the term like prisoner of war missing in action because previously they had used like something like killed in action or killed in service or something along those lines. And changing it had seemed to garner more support stateside then, because the whole idea was that the assumption was like, okay, these people aren't necessarily then dead, but they're missing, like their bodies are unaccounted for.
Right.
So it seemed to go ahead and garner, more support. So even after the war, there was still a certain number of individuals that were considered to be POWs or MIA. A number of them had been killed, but again, because the fact is that their remains had not been recovered, they were still considered to be missing in action. So there was this longstanding then kind of like conspiracy that like, oh my God, there's still a group of American forces that are left in Vietnam. How can this happen? We have to go get them. So Rambo's kind of character was based off that. And it's based kind of on a guy by the name of James Gordon Bo Grits. And I just wrote then, the man was fucking crazy. So Grits was a former Green Beret. And
what a name.
Oh, right? Like James Gordon Bo
Grits.
Grits. Gritz.
Oh,
which is even
that's
so much better.
exactly how I would spell it.
Good, right? The Z is needed.
Yep.
You need to have the Z in there. So he was one of the individuals that had believed that there were these, again, forces that were still left behind. And what had happened was that in 1982, and by the way, this is all from a 2019 article in the Outline by Nathan Smith.
It's pretty recent, by the way.
Yes, this was actually in relation to when the last Rambo movie actually came out. So Grits, apparently in 1982, had received money, roughly $30,000 from Clint Eastwood. And then an additional, and this number varies, either $10,000 or $15,000 from William Shatner.
Oh my goodness!
Now William Shatner for the rights to his story.
Oh,
and Clint Eastwood, I guess, to go ahead and actually like undertake this operation of trying to go.
That's it. Only $10,000 for that story.
10 or 15. I mean, it was the 80s.
Yeah, he lost out.
Oh yeah. And Grits was to assemble a team to go to Thailand and then enter into Laos to see if they could find these Vietnam POWs. So apparently, Grits had approached Eastwood and asked for his involvement so as to then go ahead and get approval for this from Eastwood's good friend, Ronald Reagan, who at the time was president of the U.S. This was during Reagan's first term.
Now it all makes sense.
Right? Now it's all coming together. There is no evidence that Reagan actually knew about this at all. However, Grits apparently did go and testify before Congress as well at one point about yes, there are these people still left in Vietnam. So what happened was that when Grits had arrived in Thailand, their team had allegedly received a telegram from, quote unquote, an associate which claimed that Reagan promised to, quote, start World War III to get the rest out if they found POWs, meaning, if they actually found that there were POWs. This has never been confirmed that Reagan actually said this, however. So they assembled this team. They meet in Thailand. The second, essentially, that they enter into Laos, they're ambushed. And when they're ambushed, they're immediately forced back into Thailand. All right, basically having to scrub this entire mission. Now, the thought was, oh my God, there clearly are these POWs, and it's these communists that are still, in this portion of the country that attacked them. Wasn't communists. It was actually a rival anti-communist Laotian group who had apparently been offended by Grits and his team at one point in time when they were in Thailand. Doesn't say what they may have offended them about. Could have been something cultural for all we know.
Probably was.
So it was actually them who had ambushed this team, forced them back. And then Grits and his team actually needed to pay apparently over $17,000 to go ahead and get one of their teammates released who had actually been kidnapped by this communist group. So that was his brief little claim to fame, if anything. Now, there's a documentary that's apparently made about this guy that I can't wait to go ahead and watch. Someone followed him for 10 years.
Oh, wow, really?
Because, and then I'll wrap with this, because after this, he went a bit, and then I put he went a bit ... on the fringe, if you will. So following this period, he joined the Mormon Church. He started a direct-to-video knockoff of Charlie's Angels called Rescue Force. He ran for vice president. And when he ran for vice president, he was, I guess, quote unquote, they say accidentally listed as David Duke's running mate. David Duke.
Nothing.
Head of the KKK.
Oh.
Yes. So, yes. When he ran for president, though, or vice president, he ran under the slogan, God's Guns and Grits. Yep.
Sign me up.
Following that, he was excommunicated from the Mormon Church for not paying his taxes at all. He assisted in ending the FBI standoff with white supremacist Randy Weaver at Ruby Ridge. Great story if you're not familiar with it at all.
Vaguely.
He started a far-right survivalist compound called Almost Heaven, and then he attempted suicide with a shotgun blast to the chest. He survived. Yep.
Wait, he survived a direct impact shotgun blast to the chest?
According to Nathan Smith of the Outline article, yep.
This dude lived in utter bedlam.
He did. A lot of it seems like it was kind of brought on by itself. He continually just seemed to have to continually reinforce the idea that he wasn't a white supremacist or a conspiracy theorist. He believes in the New World Order and things along those lines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, crazy kind of, shit like that.
Wow. And the dude survived a shotgun blast
to the chest.
That is very impressive.
Yep. If there was ever a conspiracy theorist or a theory, it's right there. You don't survive a shotgun blast to the chest.
Have you seen? I haven't seen it all the way through, but I've seen pieces of it. The new Rambo, the newest Rambo that's come out. I think it was called New Blood or
New Blood. Right? No, I haven't though. But that's what Smith was writing about.
Oh,
but I haven't seen it at all.
So I watched about 30 minutes of that movie.
That's impressive.
Sylvester Stallone didn't say a word.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that was his whole Rambo doesn't speak. That's his whole.
I truly have no idea. It's the only one I've ever seen anything of.
Oh, if you go back and you watch the original, I don't believe that he speaks.
That's amazing. He gets paid to not speak.
Yeah, essentially, if I'm not mistaken, I guess contemporarily he or the character would have had what we would now at least refer to as PTSD. Yeah, but yeah, if I'm not mistaken, because the first one again was First Blood. Yeah, I don't believe that he had any lines in that either.
Good for you, Sly.
Right? Look at you go.
Good for you.
Now you're calling him Sly.
Yeah, friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Sly.
Right. What's up, bro? Let's. I must say, if you have not seen it, there is one absolutely phenomenal Sylvester Stallone movie, and it's called Oscar.
Oh no!
You need to watch.
Wait, isn't that he's a truck driver and he's in the arm wrestling contest for his son?
No.
Or have I just gotten really excited about it?
About nothing.
Which one was Oscar?
Oscar is actually a really fantastic movie about. He plays this guy. It's like a comedy. It's like a loose, like mafia related comedy, even though it's not. There's nothing serious about this movie at all. But he plays a character called Snaps Provolone. And he's like an old mobster trying to go straight. And the whole point of this story is him trying to go straight. And during this, like, he finds out he has a lost daughter, and his one daughter's pregnant, and his wife is a huge bitch. And then, like, policemen and bankers are in and out of the house, people exchanging bags full of diamonds. It's a freaking great movie. You need to watch this movie.
I want to see it just because of the fact that
his name's Snaps Provolone.
Snaps Provolone, which means that someone went into a studio and said, okay, what's your idea? Okay. Lights up. We meet our main character, Snaps Provolone. And by the end of that pitch, someone said yes.
Watch that movie.
Green light that.
Fantastic Sylvester Stallone. A deep cut, I would say.
It sounds
tremendous deep cut. If you listen to the show at all, you know I love to talk about food. So I'm going to bring us to Vietnamese food. My personal favorite dish from them.
I'm going to keep listening. I'm just going to grab my lighter and my cigarettes because...
You go do that. Just don't knock the table over.
No, I won't. I'm not going to... Look. Gingerly.
So one of my favorite dishes, actually I would say of all time, I'm a huge Asian food person. All sorts of Asian food. Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai food. I'll eat it all. I love it. Have you ever heard of the banh mi?
I want to say yes. I feel like I am familiar with it. Yes.
Okay. So it's a sandwich.
Oh, then yes.
It's typically some sort of like thinly pounded pork cutlet, pickled veggies.
Oh,
usually like daikon and carrots or radish, whatever, cilantro, some mayo, and then just maybe a little bit extra hot sauce or whatever, depending on where you get it from.
Yeah.
One of my favorite all-time foods to eat. You can't really find it a lot of places, so wherever I find it, I usually get it. I didn't know that it was typically a breakfast sandwich.
Oh. Huh.
So it's actually a really interesting story. They're cheap, yet rich in flavor and calories, is what the article said.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, and here we go back to the French, believe it or not, the birth of the banh mi sandwich began with the spread of Christianity through Asia. You may be asking yourself how.
Yeah.
So way, way back, French missionaries came to Vietnam to spread the word of Christianity, obviously. Yeah. So what happened was these missionaries were not met with the highest regard of all the time.
Shocking.
Because they're, foreigners coming in to try and spread a new word in a country that's already established.
Right.
Okay. So the article goes on to explain that when two Spanish missionaries under French control, kind of confusing, were executed in Vietnam by Emperor Tu Du.
Okay.
That is the pronunciation, by the way.
Is it?
Yep. It's Tuduc.
Oh, okay.
Or some like really weird Vietnamese C. I'm not sure. The French did not take this lightly, obviously.
Shocking.
So what they did was they came in because they happened to have a force nearby, a fleet in China fighting the Second Opium War.
Oh.
So they were actually quite close. So as soon as they disposed of the Chinese in the war, they came right over to Vietnam, invaded, and this is when they...
We are finished here. Let's go on to the next one.
Right on to them. And they came right over. They set up a colony called Cochinchina.
Oh.
That was a French colony set up in Vietnam.
Yes.
Now it makes sense. I feel like you looked at this. You saw this somewhere.
I saw the name pop up a couple of different times. It was kind of like the precursor to, like, we referred to it then as for a while as like Indochina. And I believe that...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the French looked down upon the Vietnamese for their way of life, thinking that they were essentially below them. Mm-hmm. And they made comments about this, speaking on their diet, of how their diet was just cheap fish and rice.
Oh.
So kind of saying, you guys are lowly and can't afford the finer things. And this is actually even compounded by the fact that you can't grow wheat in Vietnam for whatever reason, or at that time at least you couldn't. So the only way for them to get wheat, the richest country that they knew, the French, that's how they got it imported.
Oh.
So for a while, this was like a food thing.
Yeah.
Because eventually when wheat became more regularly available, and they actually kind of did away with. So the French, when it comes to sandwiches, it's a lot of meat, butter, and I think it was fruit. I don't have it written down.
Okay.
So the Vietnamese kind of like rebelled in their own way, creating this sandwich with their local crops, pickled veggies. They had tons of veggies. Pork, I don't know how that got in there, but that made its way in. But this is how this kind of evolved over the years. So eventually, the banh mi would be created by this family called the Lees. The country was split into two in the 1950s. A lot of northerners fled from the north to the south. In that migration, the Lees found this niche in creating banh mi's. And actually, they still have a restaurant to this day in the 3rd district of Vietnam.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and it's a banh mi shop, pretty much.
It is just clicking in my brain. Were you with us? There's a place that our buddy Mike goes to in the city for banh mi and had taken...
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that
might have been the first time I ever had a banh mi.
I think it might have been the first time for myself as well.
That was a long time ago. Wow.
It was a long... It was
Good
long,
for
I
you
think
for
he was
remembering
still
that.
working, I think, like Midtown.
Yeah.
He was still working in Midtown.
And that's where my love for the banh mi was born.
Whoa. Wow, that's kind of crazy. I didn't realize that was the origin of it.
Long history of being shamed for their food choices.
It's interesting considering the French look at like snails and they're like, go ahead, put it in garlic and butter and serve it up on the plate.
Put anything in garlic and butter and serve it on a plate.
That is true. Yeah, I'm not too picky when it comes to that either. Wild.
Yeah.
Huh. So the last thing that I had kind of come across here is what's known as have you ever heard of elephant racing?
No.
So elephant racing and elephant races still take place in portions of Asia, and evidently it originates at least to Vietnam. So one of the big ones is what's known as the Buon Don Elephant Race, and it's held every year during the 3rd lunar month, which is usually March.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it happens through the forests along the banks of the Sevapoy River. So it's a mile-long track, and it's wide enough for 9 elephants to go ahead and run this race. On top of each elephant, there are what are known as 2 mahouts, and those are like they're jockeys essentially.
Oh, okay.
So you've got one that's facing forward, that's actually like guiding the elephant, and then you've got one on the back that's like goading it along, like either whipping it or with
like a horse. Yeah, sure.
with a horse to make it go faster. They run at an average of 25 miles per hour.
Wow, really?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh, God.
Like
That's why Sahara stampedes are so dangerous.
oh my God, yes. I didn't, and now I regret it. Like in the moment when I had read 25 miles per hour, I was like, let me find out what the average weight of some of these elephants are. But these things are tons.
Dude.
Like,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit. Height adjusted speed score is off the charts.
It's incredible. And again, the average is 25 miles per hour. So there are some that are running faster. And then the winning elephant, and this, does still happen. The winning elephant gets a little wreath as an award. He's fed bananas and sugarcane. And then at the end, they all go and they swim in the banks of the river.
Oh, that sounds very nice.
It sounds great. They do this, like I said, apparently up until recently, they still used to hold these in like England as well, because
I never heard of this.
Neither had I, but this is part of their one of their traditions and festivals and holidays out there.
If you put a gun to my head and said, Alex,
go on,
can you outrun the average elephant? I'd say, hell yeah, I can.
You, sir,
Nope.
You are going to be a pancake.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's going to wind up happening. Yeah.
That is insane. Something that is, how many, do we have
I'll look it up real quick.
I know they're at least 1 ton.
I was going to say, I want to, for some reason,
least.
1 or 2 tons does stick out in my mind.
That's like a car, man.
Yeah, dude.
That is like a car barreling down at you, and probably even worse off.
Oh, I would
than
say,
a car.
Well, of course. You know what? Just because of the fact is that cars, they're not. How can I put it? the dangerous part about cars is the living being that is operating it. So,
Right.
like, in this case, this is like if the car came alive.
Yeah.
So these things can grow roughly.
They got to be at least 15, 17 feet tall.
They're talking here. Well, it says actually about 9 feet.
Tall?
This is like for the Asian elephant in
Which
particular
I
is
would've
what I'm
thought they
looking
were
up
way
here.
taller.
So it says about 9 feet and that they can grow up to.
I'm going to guess 2,700 pounds.
Oh,
I probably lowballed it.
yeah, you did.
Double that. 5,400 pounds. You know, they're like really beautiful creatures.
Oh, they are.
They really are. And like when I was younger, I always thought they were kind of ugly because of the scaly skin. But as I've gotten older, I've kind of appreciated the elephant.
So on average, when fully grown, a bull, which is the male, about 9 feet tall at the shoulder.
Oh, wow.
Weighing about 4.4 short tons in weight.
Oh. So at least 7,000 or 8,000 pounds.
Yes.
Holy shit.
About a 4.4 short tons is roughly about like 8,800 pounds.
I would never want to see this happen, but imagine like an elephant versus a Mack truck.
Oh,
like that
my God.
Mack truck would be done for.
It's crazy. And again, imagine at the same speed.
Right.
They're equal in force. It's a matter, I guess, then at that point of like mass,
Yeah.
But yeah, 4.4
Well, because
tons.
I mean, we've seen like Jay. Remember that time Jay hit a deer? Remember that time a turkey flew into me and destroyed my car? That's a story for another day. That's
wild stuff. These things are humongous.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah, good times.
I want to go and see this happen.
I would actually really like to go to Vietnam specifically for the food.
I brought it up to Nick last night and actually said, I was like, you want to go to Vietnam? I was like, all right, sure, we'll go to Vietnam. Yeah, for the food, because I'm not skittish when it comes to eating things that might seem also like a little kind of like out there, if you will.
I draw the line at bugs usually.
Oh, you see, I don't.
No,
that I don't have a problem with.
I think if they're alive, definitely not.
Yeah, I don't like to eat really anything that I think that's alive necessarily.
I don't think I've ever had anything that was alive.
No?
Bless you.
Excuse me.
I know that
thank
was
you.
a cough.
That's all right. I still said thank you because I appreciate you. You're concerned for my well-being.
I don't think I've ever eaten anything that was actually alive. Now that I'm thinking of it, like what would it be? Nothing.
I was going to say like
cooked or dead.
Seafood in certain regards. Maybe like a fresh clam.
No, because it's usually been deshelled.
Oh,
I would consider that not alive.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have either then. The seafood was the only thing that maybe came to mind.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Otherwise, not particularly.
We're going off on a tangent here, but you ever like have cuttlefish?
No, I don't think so, actually.
I've always wanted to have cuttlefish, although it terrifies me because they're poisonous.
Right, if it's prepared incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah. I remember an episode of The Simpsons, they had done that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Simpsons did it.
The Simpsons did it. Yeah, the head sushi chef was shacking up with Mrs. Krabappel in the...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't know why I have such a...
Mrs. Krabappel.
Yeah, I don't know why I have such a distinct memory of that. I think because he kept pronouncing her name as Mrs. Crabapple. I don't know why. It's just something that sticks out in my mind. Yeah, gotta
That's
love
awesome.
it. The Simpsons did it.
Simpsons did it. Hey, we did it.
We did it.
Thanks for coming in.
Did you do it?
Do what?
It.
They probably did it.
If you haven't done it, go ahead and make sure that you like and subscribe and tell your friends.
That's the it.
Damn it.
Tell your friends that we are two mildly disgruntled gentlemen from New Jersey, and sometimes we have some interesting things to say.
If that doesn't sum up realistically everybody in the state of New Jersey, that's roughly within our demographic group. We're all mildly disgruntled, and we every once in a while have something interesting to talk about.
That's true, and thank you guys for dealing with it.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.